All right, it's time for some piecing. That's my favorite, you know. Hey everyone, Cristin here, and we have the first two blocks of our Falling for Autumn quilt done. And these were the two biggest blocks. They're huge. So we are going to move on today, and we are going to do what is my personal favorite, the piecing projects. I love piecing projects. I think that they're so fun. They make your brain work, and it's just fun. So we are going to work on the pieced star today. There's quite a bit to it, and we actually need two of them. We only need one today though, so you could just do one and then come back to this tutorial later and do the other one. I'm going to do both. It's still going to take two hoopings, but I'm going to do both just so that I feel like I'm a little bit ahead, right? So then when we get to that part, it's pretty late. It's actually at the end. It looks like it's at the end. So here's the first one. This is the one we need for today, and then the other one is way down here. So we don't need it until later, but I like to do extras so that we feel like we're ahead of the game a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. Totally up to you how you do yours. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need. So the pieced star, I should say, the pieced star is on page 16 of our booklet, and there's a lot of pieces to it. So this is going to be interesting. I'm also going to, it takes a lot of hoopings, but I'm going to merge them together so that I can do one entire pieced block in one hooping. So that will be up to you if you choose to do that. I'm going to use Embrilliance Essentials software, and I'm going to bring you over to the computer and show you how I'm going to do that. You can follow along. If you have Embrilliance Essentials, you'll be able to do it step by step with me. If you haven't purchased Embrilliance Essentials yet and you're thinking about it or you're in the market for it, please use my affiliate link to purchase it. It will put a little cookie on your computer that says you're supporting Cristin Creates, and I will show you how to use it. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, we do need two of these. So let's talk about the products for today. There's a lot. There are a lot, but we're going to go over them all together and not be afraid, because we're going to work on it together. It will be fun, and like I said, piecing is my favorite. I love it. So it says in the directions to sort the cut fabric into three different groups: block A group and block B group, and then a center group. So let me tell you right now, the center group is just these little, there's two of them, one for each of the star blocks, and we are not going to use this until the end if I understand the directions correctly. So these are our center blocks, and we will use them much later. So you can go ahead and put those aside for now. All right, and then we have the A block and the B block. All right, and I can tell you right now, gosh, they look the same. All right, so it's kind of funny. I was actually thinking that this is block A and this is block B, and so we can do all of one star and then do another star, but I was wrong. This is A and this is B, and we'll go over each of those fabrics. But this maroon one, I was thinking, how weird, it's not in the A at all. Well, when we piece it all together, we use A and B blocks. I didn't realize that. So we are definitely going to need all of these. So like I said, you can do both of the star blocks together at one time, or you can do half of them and then put one of the star pieces together and do another one later. Totally up to you. So let's talk about the products that we need for today. So I'm going to start with the A block. So the A block, let's see, we have these center pieces, which isn't our real center. I think we put like these stripes over that center later. If I'm not sure yet though. Well, I'm going to get further along in the instructions. But so let's start with A1. So A1 is this golden, it's a golden silky solid. It's a plain golden silky solid. And one thing is, I did back all of my pieces with Fusible stabilizer. This is really optional. A lot of people choose not to do that on piecing projects. And so totally think about what you want to do, and totally up to you how you do that. And I mentioned that in the prep video, that these pieces specifically are for piecing, and so make sure that you know whether you want to back them or not, because some people don't like to do them. I do. I think it makes for a nice crisp look. I like the look of it better. but it is a little bit harder to flip them and keep them in place. You can use your iron, you can use a Clover folding pen. In fact, I'll add a link here, an affiliate link with Amazon for the Clover folding pen. That works really, really well. I was surprised. Katie Mayo sent me one of them, and it works really great. So you could definitely do that, whatever works for you. In fact, if you're not backing them with Fusible stabilizer, you can just do a finger press and it'll pretty much stay in place. All right, so back to what we're working on. So the center blocks, this is A1, and we want 8 pieces of this golden silky solid, and they are 3 by 3. All right, 8 pieces of A1, and it is 3 by 3. All right, and then the next one, we'll put those over there. The next ones are, let's see, A2. So A2 is a white silky solid. Now, if you stabilize your fabric, I want to point out that the stabilized side and the regular side look very similar. So you'll have to make sure and look for that weaving. There's that weave on the back of the fusible backing, and that will help you to tell the front from the back. So if you did that, just check and make sure that you've got the right side. All right, so this is A2. So A2, we want 8 pieces that are 2 by 3. 8 pieces that are 2 by 3. And don't forget, I said that there's some on each of the blocks. Like we're going to do all of A block and all of B block. We're going to do several of them, and then we're going to sew them together. All right, in the final step. So like there aren't any of these in the B block, but we will use A block and B block to get the star block. I hope that makes sense. All right, so 8 pieces, and it's a white silky solid, by the way, and 8 pieces at 2 by 3, okay? And then we have A3, A4, and A5. All of these are this tan lattice fabric, all right? A tan lattice, and like I said, I did back mine, totally optional, but this is for A3, A4, and A5, and they are all 24 pieces at 2 by 3. 24 pieces at 2 by 3. That was fun cutting all of these, wasn't it? I remember that. I was like, oh my goodness. So 24 pieces of this tan lattice fabric in 2 by 3. All right. And that is A3, A4, and A5. All right, and now we're going to move on to the B blocks. So the B block has a center block that is just white, silky, solid white. And I did back mine with Fusible stabilizer, so this is another one that you'll have to look and make sure that you're not putting the weave side up, the fabric backing or the Fusible backing up. You want the fabric up when we lay this down. So this is B1. So B1, we want 8 pieces that are 3 by 3. 8 pieces of this white silky solid for the B block, B1, in 3 by 3. Okay. And then we have that maroon. This is what made me realize that we're using the A block and the B block in the star, because I was like, oh, it shows the picture with the maroon fabric on there, but that's not part of the A. So we use some of the A blocks and some of the B blocks to create the star block. So this is a maroon silky solid, burgundy, like a burgundy silky solid. And this is for B2 and B3. So B2 and B3, we want 16 pieces that are 2 by 3. 16 pieces, 2 by 3. And this is for B2 and B3, all right? Together, not 16 of each, 16 total pieces for B2 and B3. And then we have the gold silky solid. This is, again, a 2 by 3. And this is B4 and B5. So B4 and B5, we want 16 pieces that are 2 by 3. 16 pieces, 2 by 3. And these will be for B4 and B5 of the B blocks, okay? And that's it. That's all we need. We are going to quilt this after we put it together, if I recall. The quilting will be completed after the blocks are sewn together. All right, so we will sew all of these together. We are going to piece it in the hoop, and then we're going to sew all of our pieces together, and then we're going to put it back in the hoop to embroider the quilting, to do the quilting of it. So whenever we quilt, we use our batting. So our batting on these are going to be 7 by 7. One piece of batting for each of the 2 star blocks in 7 by 7 for our batting. And then our quilting design, I didn't look that up. Let me see here. All right, so for our quilting, there's actually 2 different quiltings. So on block 1, we're going to have, and I believe it's block 1, they're actually the same. But block 1, we're going to use Fruit 5 in a 6x6 horizontal design. So for block 1, we're going to use the quilting design Fruit 5 in a 6x6 horizontal design. And that is in our bundle, our Falling for Autumn bundle. All right. And if you haven't bought your bundle yet, don't forget to use the affiliate link for Daylily Fabric Shop. All that information is in the video notes underneath this video. All right, and then for block 2, our second pieced star block, we're going to use Hobby 7 in a 6x6. Hobby 7 in a 6x6. And I haven't pulled that up yet on the computer. I'm curious to see what that is. If I recall, Hobby 6 is the one that had all of the sewing type of things. So I'm curious what Hobby 7 looks like. And I will see as soon as we bring it over to the computer and see how we're going to merge them together. So let's go do that. Hey everyone, I'm at my computer now, and like I said, I'm going to show you if you choose to do more of these blocks in one hooping or 2 hoopings. I think it has to be at least 2 actually. You could probably actually get all of them. So there are 16 hoopings. There are, let's see, there's 9 blocks per star, but that center block is not part of it. So there are 8 for each of the star blocks. So a total of 16 blocks is what we need, and they're small blocks. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. So I'm going to open up Brilliance Essentials, and then I'm going to just move it over here. It's in clock thinking right now. There we go. All right, so I'm going to just move it over here. Now, like I said, we need, I think I'm going to do 8. I'm going to do 8 in one hooping. So this opens up to my 9x14 hoop. I'm going to show you, for those that have a smaller hoop, I think it can be done. Let's go for an 8x12. I'm going to click on this this preferences folder. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. Preferences folder. And I'm going to click on my 8x12 and say okay. And then I'm going to click on this compass button and H for hoop, so it zooms into the hoop. All right, and now there's just one design. It's just the piecing block, and it works for all of them. So it does, that part doesn't matter. So I'm going to go to Falling for Autumn, Embroidery Files. Pez is what I use for my machine, and it's the quilt. So I'm going to click on that. And there's our piecing template. So it says 4x4 square in a square. That's what we want. All right. I said piecing template, but I guess it kind of is. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this and I'm going to bring it up here. Now it's really important. So see these little edges. Let me put this down. So see these little edges here, they go out a little further. You want to make sure that you don't go over the hoop at all. So the way to know is to always be able to see these black squares. As long as you can see these black squares, then you know that you're not over the hoop at all. All right, because it looks like you could go like as much as this. And see, it doesn't turn red, but that's really close. You can't see those squares. The squares are on the hoop. So I'm just going to be a little bit safer, because I've had it be where it looks kind of okay on Brilliance, and then you bring it to your machine, and at least mine, maybe mine's just more picky, but it's like, I can't do it. So some other machines will just, they won't show you the design. If you're ever in a situation where you've got a design on the USB stick and it's not showing on your machine, it's probably because the design is too big for your machine to recognize. So like if your machine, your biggest hoop is an 8x12 and you put in a 9x14 design, it's just gonna, it's like, you figure it out, because I'm not even gonna tell you that I can't see it. Okay. All right, so this is the one design. So what I want to do is I want to change all of these so that I can do a color sort. There are 10 color steps for each of these blocks. And if we get 8 of them in a hoop, that's going to be 80 color steps. So we'll be here all day. So that's the purpose of Embrilliance for me, is I can put down like A1 on all 8 blocks and save all kinds of time, save stabilizer. So that's what I'm going to do. To do that, I need to change all of these colors, because see, if I click outside so that they're not all selected, see all these default blues and default oranges, that's what they all almost all of these are, those, if you did a color sort right now, it's going to join all of those, and it's going to be like, put everything down at once and we'll just figure it out. So we want to make sure to change all of these colors so that it will sort the ones that we want it to sort in the order that we want them to sort. I hope that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to just run through all of them. You could, there's a purple and a black. You could just do the blues and oranges, but I'm here anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do them. All right, so 1-1. You can see right here, we're on 1-1. Click on 1-1, then click down here in the Properties tab, and I'm going to click on the color. And then I can change the color. And what I always do is I just choose the first color that comes up for me. It's just the easiest. If you really wanted to sit there and specify colors, you could certainly do that. Totally up to you. I'm just going to click the first one, which for me is Damson. And I'm going to say okay. All right, and then 1-2, click on 1-2, and then click on the color down here. And the first color that comes up for me is dark aqua, and I'm going to say okay. All right, then 1-3, click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is blaze. So I've mentioned this before. The reason that these are the colors that come up for me is because I have Filtech Glide as my preferred thread color. So yours may come up differently. You can change yours. I think you even just click on here. Yeah, you could change it that way. You can change it in preferences, if I recall, right here, probably preferred. I don't remember how I did that, to tell you the truth, but this preferred is probably what did it. There's also a lot of stuff you can change up here in this preferences folder. All right, so blaze. I'm going to click on blaze and say okay. That's for 1-3. Now 1-4, click on the color, and we already used dark aqua. You can always see the colors you've chosen up here. So I'm going to use the second color down, which for me is marine, and say okay. And then 1-5, click on the color, and we already used blaze right there. So I'm going to use the second color down, which is Oriole for me, and say okay. And then 1-6, click on the color. I'm going to use the third color down now, and that for me, that's Hawaiian blue, and say okay. And then 1-7, click on the color, and I'm going to use the third color down, which for me is coral, and say okay. And then 1-8, click on the color, and I'm going to use the fourth color down. Don't forget, you can always check right here. So my last one was Hawaiian blue, so the next one down is the fourth color down, which for me is mercury, and say okay. And remember, the colors don't matter, not at all, not one bit. It's just a way to get them to separate. All right, and then 1-9, click on the color, fourth color down is lava for me, and say okay. And then the black, I'm just going to click on it, click on the color, and it's still black, but now it's not the default. All right, and again, that doesn't matter because there's not another black, but since I'm here and I'm already doing them, might as well. All right, so now notice that this last item that we did is the one that is selected. So you have to click outside. You can do it somewhere inside of the hoop, outside of the hoop, or even in this window. It doesn't matter, but just click somewhere so that nothing is selected. Because then what we want to do, I'm going to close this. Excuse my phone. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to say Control-C on my keyboard, and then Control-V like victory to paste it. All right, and it goes right on top of that first one. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my arrow keys, and I'm going to move it over. And I want to show you that I already looked at this, and so I'm pretty sure a 9x14 is going to be a lot better, but it can be done in an 8x12, and that's what I wanted to show you. So that's our second one. I'm going to go ahead. You can see right here it says that we have two designs now. I'm going to say Control-V again, like victory, because we've already had it copied. So now we're just doing a Control-V to paste another one, and I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard to bring it down. It doesn't have to be exact by any means, and I'm going to say Control-V, and I'm going to just keep doing this. All right, I'm going to bring this over. This time I'm using my mouse, and then Control-V again to get some more of these, and then Control-V again to get a sixth one, and then Control-V to get a seventh one. Making sure not to go over those hoop lines, don't forget. That one's a little close. All right, and then Control-V to get a last eighth one. So I just wanted to show you that it can be done in a 8x12 hoop. These are really close. For me, it would be stressful, and you can move them around a little bit. But this is too tight for me because these are piecing projects and they're very little fabric, so you should be okay. But when you're turning them over, those extra fabrics are going to be in the way of the next one. It can be done. You would just have to watch it, tape them in place, do whatever works for you. But if you have a bigger hoop, then it would be a little bit less stressful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to preferences, and I'm going to change to my 9x14 hoop. Excuse my computer beeping at us or dinging, and I'm going to say okay. All right, so now what that did is it put my hoop bigger. I'm going to click this compass and then H so that I can see how much room I have. And then you can just go ahead and take them and grab them and move them over. And again, it doesn't matter at all. So I'm just going to move them over, making sure not to go over those hoop lines. That's a little bit close. All right, and I think you could probably even do this in the Align and Distribute tab. Either way will work fine. So I'm just moving them over. Since they don't have to be exact, it doesn't matter. In fact, I'm going to do these bottom two first just to see how much room I have. All right. And I'm doing this a little quickly because I have someone waiting for me to call them back. All right. That one's a little close. All right, so you can see they don't have to be perfect at all, but then we have some room. That's the reason I did this. I'm going to move this one up a little bit. All right, and so just move them around to where you're comfortable. And now look, when we exit out of that, see how we have 80 color steps? That's a lot. That's a lot of color steps. Like literally we're going to be here all day. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a color sort. Make absolutely certain that when you do your color sort, you have these arranged how you want them first. Because once you do a color sort, instead of these 8 steps, 8 designs, I'm going to show you all the different designs. Let me close these up so you can see them all. All right, up almost 6, 7, 8. All right, so see all of these 8 color steps, or not color steps, I'm sorry, we have 80 color steps, but all of these 8 designs, they will become one design. So once that happens, you can't rearrange them at all because now it's just one design. So make sure that you have them centered in the way that you want first, and then do your color sort. So we're going to go to Utility Color Sort. All right, and then make sure that you have these same steps that I have. This is really important. I get questions that are like, well, it didn't come out with the same things that you got. Make sure that this RHS pre-sort is not selected, force applique position material is not selected, and tolerance is 0. All right, and then you'll get the same results that I got. And you can see this design page has been reduced by 70 color changes. How cool is that? So then we're going to be able to just, when it says we're on step whatever, we'll put that fabric down on all of them, flip them all, tape them in place, or iron it, or whatever it's going to be so that they're held in place, and then do the next one. It's going to be so easy. And I will show you step by step how we're going to go through all that. But this was a really easy way to get them all together. So I'm going to click New View. Always click New View because it may not do exactly what you thought it should do. I can tell based on the numbers that it's correct, but I'm going to click New View anyway because then I have my old tab in case anything's wrong. Here's my first tab that's got the 8 designs. And then the second tab is what it created when it did that color sort when I said New View. All right, so now you can see they're all in one design. And I like to just quickly look through and make sure that it did them all. Nothing is joined. You don't want where 2 of the steps are the same and joined. And that's why we changed all those colors so that that wouldn't happen. All right, so those are all perfect, perfect, perfect. Very cool. So I'm going to do a file, save stitch file as. Make sure to do a file, save as. And then it's asking, where do you want to put this? So I'm going to put it back in my Falling for Autumn embroidery files, Paz, quilt, and I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to call this Pieced Star times 8 because there's 8 blocks. So I'll need to do this twice. And like I said, if you've got a 10x16 hoop, you might be able to fit all 16 in one hooping. Kind of a lot, but definitely very likely doable, I bet you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I'm going to go to Utility, Send to Solaris, and say OK. And then you can also send over to your machine or to your USB stick. There it is, file sent to machine. You can also send the 2 quilting designs. So, because we will need that later after we piece them together. So that was Fruit 5 in a 6x6 horizontal and Hobby 7 in a 6x6. All right, so both of those you could also send over. So that's it, quick tutorial on how to do all of these piecing blocks together. Hey everyone, so now that we have our star blocks done, we need to quilt them. So how cool are these? I think they're really pretty personally. I like the traditional blocks and I love piece blocks. So if you followed along with the video, the embellishment section of the tutorial, then you got to do it in less hoopings, because otherwise it's 8 hoopings per star block. That's a lot, but definitely can be done. So hopefully you saw how to merge some together so that you could do more in less hoopings. Totally optional, of course. So the next part, we are going to hoop it one more time and we are going to quilt these. There's two different quilting designs. I mentioned that at the beginning of this video, but I want to point out that you could choose to do something a little different here. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to bring you over to Embrilliance to give you a visual of what I'm thinking of. But I think it would be really fun to personalize the center. Just something very simple, totally optional, not at all required at all. But it would be fun because then it's our own, right? We're making it special, doing our own thing. But also it gives us a chance to learn something new. I really like that. I always love learning something new. So I'm going to show you a few options. I was thinking a few fun things. So maybe an apple in the center, maybe a pumpkin, maybe a fall leaf, something autumnish, right? Or a monogram. I know I'm going to do one of them with a monogram in the middle, maybe just 2 letters because it's small. So that's the other thing is you have to, and I'll show you when we get to the computer, but you have to measure this and know how much going in, how much room you have, because it's going to be a mini. You're not going to be able to do a regular size design. It will overtake the star block. So something, what I'm picturing anyway, is just something in the center block. So measure this. Mine is 2 by 2. So I'm thinking like 1 3/4 design. So a monogram, a mini design, whatever. I haven't decided for sure yet. I know I want one of them to have a monogram in it just because I think that would be fun and make it personalized and legacy, right? I've talked a lot about our past projects, that legacy. So years from now when I'm gone, my kids or my grandkids or their kids are going to have this quilt that has has my initials on it, that they're going to be able to say, oh, that was my great grandma made this for me. You know, it just legacy. I think it's pretty cool to do stuff like that. So hopefully at the end we'll do a quilt label and that will personalize it as well. But I think it would be really fun to have an initial in here, a small little thing, whatever, something personalized. So totally optional, but I'm going to bring you over to Embrilliance and give you some ideas and show you how to do that. Hey everyone, so I'm just going to take you on a little shopping trip, all right? So if you decide that you want to put something in this center block here, I can move my hand the way that it should be. If you want to do that, you'll need to get a mini design or a monogram or whatever. And so this part of the video, I'm just going to take you on a little shopping trip and give you some ideas, okay? So I'm going to open up a web browser and go to Etsy, and the shop that I suggest is called So Cha Cha. All right, on Etsy, So Cha Cha. They are known for their minis. They have a lot of really cute mini designs. And if you look in the announcement portion of their Etsy shop, you can see there is a coupon code. So I want you to make sure to notice this. Whenever you go to an Etsy shop, if you read the details at the top of their page, sometimes they have special deals. So this one is use coupon code CHA-CHA20 for 20% off your purchase of $10 or more. So if you buy a few minis, just make sure to note this. All right, so what I did is I went through all 18 pages. She's got 18 pages of minis that you can look through. And so I did that already. And so I'm going to just show you what I have in my cart. That anything that called to me. So keep in mind, this was just what called to me. You can go through and see something that's for you, but I tried to keep it to things of interest of me and also of fall, autumn items. So there's this mini scarecrow girl. How cute is that? This with a sewing machine. I have an idea for that for later. So keep that in mind for later. I'm not going to tell you about it yet. These 3 pumpkins. This would be really cute in the center of our star block. Of course, for me, a breast cancer sign, I'm thinking of that for later. This also I'm thinking of for later, but something that I thought would be fun. I have this pie design, and so I put it in my cart again just to show you as an idea for something for later. Same here, kitchen supplies for later. This deciduous tree, you can't see all of it. For some reason, it's off to the corner. There's 2 of them that did this, but it's a tree, so nice fall item. A little dog on a little rug, that would be cute. In the center of your star block or for something else. This one is really cute. It's a sunflower set of sunflowers in a milk can, and it's really cute. You can't see it super well here, but it's a cute idea. Of course, for me, a pink bicycle, I already own this one and I've used it before, and I'm thinking of possibly using it for something later. And then mini mushrooms. This is really cute. This would be really cute on our star block or something else. Of course, an apple. So I want to point out also that when you start thinking of thinking outside of the box and adding something special to personalize your quilt, think about what's around it. So the first star block, the one that we're working on for today, is next to the sweaters block, and underneath it is a pumpkin. So I wouldn't want a sweater or a pumpkin. But on the other star block, it's right under apples. So I wouldn't personally want this apple on that star block at the bottom of the quilt, but on the one on the top, it would work well. So my point is just to think about what's around it too, because you wouldn't want to have too much of the same thing. This red wagon I thought was cute. And might be cute for something later. I'm leaning toward this acorn. I think this is super cute. So this acorn with leaves, that would be kind of perfect in the center of our star block. So that's an idea. There's a mini cat for the cat people. And then the sunflower, that's the other one I'm really leaning towards. I really like that. And I'm kind of surprised there aren't sunflowers on this, because sunflowers are kind of a fallish, late summer fallish thing. I think sunflowers would be really cute. So I'm leaning toward this sunflower or this acorn. I'm also going to probably buy some others to get that $10, the discount if you spend $10. This little scarecrow is awfully cute too, though. So I haven't decided, but I wanted to show you some ideas. And like I said, it's the So Cha Cha site on Etsy, and there's that discount if you spend $10. So look through, see things that may call out to you, may be of interest to you, and start thinking if you decide that you want to put something in the center of your block. All right. Hey everyone, so I am ready to finish up. So we are going to do the quilting, and if you choose to add in a little item to personalize it, then you would do that now too, or you can just do the quilting. Either way, I'm going to show you how to do it in one hooping. If you have a 9x14 hoop, this will work. If you have an 8x12 hoop, it should work. You might have to take out the last two steps. Let me think. 6. Yeah, so the quilting design is 6x6. So if you did 2 of them, that would be a total of 12. So you would have to take out those steps 3 and 4 like I talked about in the very first video, and maybe even shrink it just a tiny bit, but that would definitely work and make it so that you can put 2 in one hooping. So I'm going to open up Embrilliance Essentials. That's the software that I use and recommend. And if you're in the market for embroidery software, please use my affiliate link to purchase it. I'm just going to move this over here. All right. So I opened up, it's on my 9x14 hoop. If you're not on the hoop size that you want, go up to this preferences folder, click on that, choose the hoop size that you want, and say okay. All right, so, and then you can click on this compass button to click on H for hoop. It zooms into the hoop. All right, so I'm going to start by just bringing in the 2 quilting designs. I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I am going to look for the quilting bundle right there, quilting bundle. And the first one is Fruit 5, right there, Fruit 5. Embroidery files, Pez is what I use for my machine, and we're looking for the 6x6 in a horizontal design. So I'm just scrolling down to 6x6 Fruit 5, and here is the horizontal. So it's got little apples on it. That's super cute. All right, and then I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to move it up. Just like that. You can also use your mouse. Either way works fine. We don't need a lot of space in between these because our design is already going, it probably won't even be able to do a tack down. I'm not sure. We'll know. I could measure it and be sure, but most likely it won't even fit for a tack down. So it'll fit right within that placement stitch. So you don't need a lot of extra space. All right, so that's the first one. We are going to make changes to that, but I will first join in the second one since it's a different design. I'm going to go to merge stitch file, and then we're looking for hobby 7. So I'm going to close up this fruit 5 and hobby 7 right there. I have these on my desktop. It's just asking you where is the file that you want me to open. We are doing the block by block technique, and I use Pez for my machine, and I'm looking for a 6x6 hobby 7. 6x6 hobby 7. Double click on that and it will go to the center. Click on the design and then move it. So I'm just going to move it down. I'm using the arrow keys to keep it in the center, but it doesn't matter in the slightest. You could use your mouse as well. All right, so then we have our 2 quilting designs. Now, as always, I'm just clicking outside so nothing is selected. We have those blue and oranges that will join together when we do a color sort. And I like to do a color sort on these because, and actually I'm going to do it, I have to think about that. I'll show you how we're going to do it. But if we do a color sort, then we're putting down the batting on both designs at the same time, cutting at the same time, doing all the things. It saves steps. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly run through and change the color so that when we do a color sort, it will sort the parts that I want it to. So I'm going to click on the first one. So I'm on 1-1, design 1-1, and then click on the color, and I'm going to change the color to the first color that comes up for me, which is dark aqua. It will depend on what thread is your preferred color, and it doesn't matter. It's just I'm choosing the first thing that comes up because it's the quickest. All right, now I'm on 1-2, click on the color, and I'm going to choose the first color, which for me is Blaze. 1-3, click on the color. We already used dark aqua, the first color, so I'm going to use the second color, which for me is Marine. And then 1-4, click on the color, and we already used Blaze, so I'm going to use Oriole. And then 1-5. Now, if you want your thread colors on the 2 blocks different, then you would choose different colors for these. I'm going to use the same color. I'm leaning toward cream. That's what it says in the book. I initially thought I'd want to do brown so that it stood out a little bit more. And I might actually decide to do that. Either way, I know that I'm going to have them be the same because they are the same color system. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 1-5 and click on the color, and I'm going to choose the first color that comes up for me is Sprout. All right, and then now onto the second design. I'm going to do the same colors that I did above so that everything will join. So 2-1, click on the color, and we know we want dark aqua. 2-2, click on the color, we want Blaze. 2-3, click on the color, and I'm going to use Marine. 2-4, click on the color, and I'm going to use Oriole. And then I'm going to use the same color as above. 2-5, I'm going to use Sprout. Again, if you want 2 different colors on yours, then choose a different color so that it won't join. All right, so those are good. Those are all done. I'm going to go ahead and close these actually. Now, I want to do a color sort on that, but then it will make it so that there's one design. So when I bring in the design, I won't be able to center it. So I'm going to do something a little different. You've seen me do this before in other projects if you've been following Cristin Creates for a while. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select down from the bottom and drag up so that I have both designs selected. And I'm going to say Control-C to copy. And I'm going to go to File, New Page, and I'm going to say Control-V like victory to paste. All right, so now I have 2 tabs. I have this first one and the second one. At the moment, they're both exactly the same. I'm going to run off of this first one though. So I'm on Untitled 1 tab, and I'm going to go ahead and do a color sort right now. I'm not going to worry about the later parts. I'm going to do a color sort right now. And if you're not adding in personalization, then you'll be all fine with just running it right now, doing a color sort and sending it to your machine. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Utility Color Sort, and we have 10 color steps right now, and it reduces it to 5 color changes. So that saves half the steps, right? So I'll remember that this information here needs to be the same as what I have here to get the same results as me. So none of these are selected, and my tolerance level is at 0. All right, so that's all done. I'm going to click New View, so it'll open a 3rd tab now. All right, and now you can see that design 1 and design 2 are all in one design together. All right, so that they're all merged. And I'm just going to quickly look and make sure that it did what it should do. So we have our placement stitch for our batting, our tack down stitch for our batting, our placement stitch for the main fabric, which will be that star block. And then the tack down stitch, which it will probably just run around it. I think we'll probably need to tape it in place, but we'll see. And then our quilting design for both. So that's perfect. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Untitled 1. Untitled 3 will be the one that we're going to use because those are merged together. But I'm going to go to Untitled 1 just so that I can bring in my designs and then do an align to get them just right in the center. All right, so I am going to open up a mini design. So remember, I decided I want to put a mini design right in the center, and we can't see all of our little pieces, right? So we can't see exactly where all these pieces are. We can only see the quilting right now. So we're going to have to make sure to get it right in the middle and the right size. Don't forget, I said you want to measure yours and make sure that you know the size. Mine is 2 by 2, so I'm going to put in a design that is about 1 3/4, I think would be really good, maybe even a tiny bit bigger, but whatever. So as I mentioned earlier, you can buy mini designs from Etsy. The shop that I purchased from is called So Cha Cha. I ended up deciding on the mini acorn, all right? And I haven't unzipped it yet so that you can see how to do that because some people asked me about that. So I'm just going to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that design. I'm going to actually right click on it. Well, you can right click on it or you can double click on it. Either way will work. And then you'll get an extract all button. I am on a PC. It could be different on a Mac. I don't know. I'm not a Mac gal. I'm going to move this over so you can see it. My head won't be in the way. I'm going to say extract all, extract, and it should just go to my desktop. All right. And then I'm just going to close these folders and you can see I have the zipped file and the extracted file. I've already unzipped it. So I'm going to click on the zipped file and just click delete. I don't need that anymore. All right. So now in here, has all the different sizes and all the different formats. I only use the Pez format, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to type in Pez, and then there's all those. I thought it would show me, I thought it would just bring them to the front. That's not what I was thinking it would do. So I'm going to go back. All right, and I'm just going to go through here just to make it less convoluted. I'm going to go through and I'm going to quickly delete the files that are not Pez because I don't use those. If you have 2 different machines that use 2 different formats, you'll need to keep those, or if you think you might change formats later by buying a different machine that uses a different format, then you would want to keep those. I don't. I know I'm going to stay with Pez, so I'm just deleting them so that they're out of my way. All right, so that's my personal preference. It also cleans up your hard drive. You don't want too much, you don't want to have it taking up space of things that you don't need to save. All right, so that's done. Now what I'm going to go, I closed that folder and I'm going to go to merge stitch file here and I'm going to bring in, I'm going to find it. I got to close up this Falling for Autumn stuff and there's my mini acorn because it's on my desktop. So I click on that and I have a few different sizes. So 1 1/4, 1 3/4, and 2 1/4. So I think the 1 3/4 should work really well. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. It will go to the center. And then what I want to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to do an align to make sure that it goes right in the center of the block that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on design 1. And then I'm going to hit the control button on my keyboard and hold it down while I click on the 3rd design, which is that acorn. So now I have design 1 and design 3 selected, and I'm going to go to utility, align and distribute, because you have to tell it what you want to align. All right. And then I'm going to click center, center. So it will go to the center of that first design. I have the first design selected and the acorn design, and I'm going to say apply. All right, so that you can see it went to the center, but it also moved my block down, which is fine, but make sure to notice that in case you are going to have overlapping fabrics. So while they're both selected, I should be able to move it. Yep, I'm using the keyboard, the arrow keys on my keyboard to move both of those designs up and out of the way. So that is perfectly centered. So that's what I want. Now keep in mind that we're on that first tab and I want it on the 3rd tab, this one that has all of them in one design. But if if I tried to do an align and distribute on this design, it won't, because they're all one design now. That's why I did it on Untitled 1. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and you'll see how we'll get there, but that's the first one. That one is done. So now I clicked outside just so nothing is selected. And now I want to bring in kind of a monogram. A monogram generally is your first name, first initial, middle initial, and last initial. And that's too big for me. I want it to be a little bit more condensed, a little bit more centered. So I'm just going to do 2 letters. So I'm going to do CS. Now, a bunch of us bought, a few weeks ago, I posted in the Cristin Creates group on Facebook that Oh My CS, Oh My Crafty Supplies, I think is what it is. So they had this big sale on fonts, and they had this font bundle, which I looked and I can't find it again. So I think it was just a special deal, and I'm sorry if you missed out, but a ton of people bought it. And it's just a really good way, because all the fonts included BX, I think, except I think there were 2 that it did not. And those were probably an applique font. I don't remember. I think they said that out of like 100 fonts I think we received, I don't remember exactly, there were 2 that were not going to be in BX, but all the other ones were BX. So if you are wanting to build up your font library, is how I mentioned it in the group, this is a great way. Buy a big bundle of fonts. It was like $15 for a ton of fonts. So it was a really good deal. So a bunch of us bought that. And so I have not, you have to download each one. So that is an important point to make. You have to download each font, and then you have to extract each font and bring them into Embrilliance, the BX font. So I did not do all of that. I did extract them all. I extracted each of the zipped folders, but I have not brought any of them into my Embrilliance yet, because I have a lot of new people that have just recently purchased Embrilliance. And so I'm going to just show you really quickly how to do that. Now, I went through the fonts, and let me open up that folder. Yeah, so right here. So Oh My CS, and they had just, there's 105. There's 105 designs that we got. And the cool thing is that each of them, not all of them actually, almost all of them came with a little picture so that you could see what the font looks like. And eventually, when I have time, I'm going to make a spreadsheet and put them in there so that I have them at a quick glance. But I did go through some of them, and so I'm going to show you how to bring them over. So I'm just going to move this folder over here. All right, and then, so there were a bunch. So let me just quickly run through. And keep in mind, you have to go based on the letters of your name. If you're going to make a monogram, you need to look at the letters for your name. Mine is CS, and S, some S fonts look weird to me. And so S to me is a little bit difficult compared to other letters, so you have to look through yours. So I looked through several of them and picked out a few that I thought looked really good. So I'll just quickly tell you so that you can, because there's a lot of them, and so I've already done the work for my name, but it might help you too. So Azalea was really pretty, Carried Away was really pretty, Cool Summer Night, Country Sass. Don't you wonder how they come up with the names on these? I think it's so funny. Like, there was one that had a really cute name, and I opened it up, and it did not go along with that name at all. Like, it looked like a computer type of font. It wasn't at all so it's funny to me that they come up with these funny names. So Country Sass, Fall Foliage, Lemon Drops, Nevermind, New York, Rosetta, Sparkling Wines, Twilight Moon. Those were some that just stood out to me that I thought would be really cute for this quilt and for my specific letters of my name. So I'm going to open up just a couple of them to show you how to bring them in. So like I said, I already unzipped them all. So you have to unzip a folder before you can bring it into Embrilliance. So you do have to do that, and it does take a little bit of time since there are so many. So here's Lemon Drop. So I'm going to double click on the folder. They have folders within folders, so I'm going to double click again. Now, this is what I was saying as far as they have a picture of the font so that you can take a glance at it and go, oh yeah, that looks good, depending on whatever your letters are. If your name has an H, look at how pretty that H is. So lots of really cute things. So the C and the S I thought looked really good, so I decided, yeah, that would be a nice one. So then I close that out. I'm going to go to this BX font format, and I am going to just click and drag so that I have all three of these, and then I am going to just drag it over here to the workspace. And let me move this so you can see, and it says, look, these have been installed. How easy was that? Is that the coolest thing ever? So you don't have to do anything. You don't, it's literally, you click on the BX font, drag it over, and it installs them for you. So that was like the quickest thing ever. So I'm going to just install a couple of these really quickly so that I can then show you how to look at what they look like on there once we put in our monogram. Sorry, I'm trying to do too many things at once. All right, so BX format, again, click on it, drag it over to the workspace on Embrilliance, and it says it's installed. Easy, so easy. All right, so that was New York. I'm going to do Rosetta, OCS. So I have them saved on my D hard drive because has a little bit more space than everything else. So decide where you want them. You can delete the different formats and save the BX, but if you're not using Embrilliance, you will need the other formats for other software. So just keep that in mind. So like for me, I would probably save the PEZ and the BX and throw all the others away. But for BX, all you need for Embrilliance is the BX. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Rosetta, drag it over to the workspace, and it installs. So easy. I wanted to show you just how easy. I mean, Embrilliance is just, I'm very impressed by Embrilliance. All right, sparkling wine is the next one I thought was pretty. Double click on the folder, and here's that picture that I was telling you. A bunch of them have pictures so that you can take a look at it and see what looks good with your letters. So BX font, click on it. So I'm just clicking and I'm dragging up so that I have all of them. And then I'm dragging it over to the workspace, and it has brought all of those sizes over. All right, and then close that up, and Twilight was another one I thought was pretty. So Twilight Moon, yep, and double click on that. There's that alphabet so you can see it real quick. This is a pretty one. This is a really pretty one. If your name has a D in it, that's pretty. I really like that. All right, so BX format, click and drag, and I think you could copy and paste it over. Dragging is just super easy. Takes a second. All right, and it keeps it also on your computer. It's not taking it, it's just you're dragging it over to share it with Embrilliance Essentials. All right, so now I'm done with that. I saved a few. Eventually, I will save all of them, and I'm going to make a spreadsheet and the whole bit. I just haven't had time. So you got to see how easy it was to do that, though. Now to start to put in our name, I'm going to move this over so my head's not in the way. All right, so we're going to click on this Create Letters right here. Now it automatically opens to one that you automatically receive with your purchase of Embrilliance Essentials. There's a few fonts that you automatically get, and so it opened up to that. It is this block style font. So I am going to go ahead and actually I'm going to change the letters so that I can see what it will look like. So to do that, right here where it says text, I'm just going to highlight the ABC and I'm going to put CS and hit return. As soon as I hit return, you can see that it kept that font that it's using and it showed me what that would look like. All right. Now when I click on this arrow, look at what happens. It shows me all of my fonts, and I have a lot of them. Unfortunately, I lost my hard drive, so this is really, I want to point this out, learn from my mistake. My hard drive failed, and these things, by the way, just so you know, they don't last forever. If you drop it or anything happens, you could lose everything. So don't have that be your only backup. Learn from my mistake. I actually bought the professional version of Dropbox, and my plan was to save it from Dropbox and save it on my hard drive so that I have everything on two different things to be able to have a backup. And in the process of understanding Dropbox and transferring, my hard drive failed and I lost everything. And I brought it to two different companies and they said it would cost over $1,000 if they could even get the things off of it. So basically all of my 10,000 embroidery files are gone. So learn from my mistake. Thankfully, once you load them to Embrilliance, they're there. So all of these fonts, they're there. I don't have to worry about them until I upgrade my computer or something happens that, because I don't have the backup. But of course, most of the companies, not all, are still in business, and you can go to that company and just re-download it. So like all these Designs by Juju, I can just go to Designs by Juju and re-download from my purchased files. But a bunch of the ones that I have purchased have gone out of business. So like, what was the company? Itch to Stitch. I bought a lot, and Baby K's Embroidery. Both of those went out of business, and I bought a ton of files from them. So they are gone. Like I will never get them back. So just learn from my mistake. Make sure you've got a backup and be really careful about it. That was a really hard lesson to learn. Very upsetting. All right, so all of my files are here. All of my fonts, I should say, are here. So this other thing I want to mention is that they will be in here in a weird way. So like instead of the name of the design, like if you know the design you want to look for, this like Designs by Juju, they have them DBJJ and then the name. Some of them, they don't have that. Not all Designs by Juju. Planet Applique has the name of the design. So you kind of have to find it. So look at these. I think these were the Itch to Stitch maybe, and they're by BX. So I don't even remember what brand that they were from, and to find them would be difficult because they're under BX. So it will depend on how the manufacturer labeled it as well. So like I'm going to look for lemon drops, and so I can go down here and look under lemon, under alphabetical, and see if maybe they're in right. And they are. That's nice. So I haven't bought fonts from OMyCS before, and it could just be this one, but that's really nice that it does have the size, or I'm sorry, the name of the design first. So that makes it easy. So notice we've got our block style of my letters, but I'm going to click on this and watch it'll change. See? So once you have your text in there, then you can go through here and just see all the different formats and decide what you like. This is a 1-inch design, and like I said, we have almost 2 inches. In fact, it might be easier to do the 2-inch design and then shrink it down a little bit. But keep in mind that we don't see the box, so you will have to go by the size. We won't be able to see the actual box. So if I change this to a 2-inch, and then I can see the size on it, look at it. The size of it is 3.5 by 2. So that's quite a bit, way too large. So I would need to do the 1-inch design on this one. Lemon drop, 1 inch. All right, and then it's 1 13/16. So a little bit less than 2 inches by 1 1/16. So that would work. That would work just fine. I'm going to go ahead and bring it down here just so that I can see. I'm going to see if I can. I want to make sure that it's centered in the middle of that second block. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by that, even though I might have to change it again once I decide which font that I want to use. So I'm going to click on 2 and then click the control button on my keyboard and click on 4 so that both of those are selected. And I'm going to go to Utility, Align and Distribute. And I'm going to say Center, Center. Apply, and you saw that it moved up just a tiny bit. So now that is centered. It may just be for that font, so I'll check it again before I finish, but at least now I can get a visual of what that would look like. All right, so that is one font option. So that is Lemon Drop from OMyCS. It doesn't say which brand. So actually look at this. There's Lemon Drop and Lemon Drops. Oh, they just didn't put the S on there. All right, so that one's one of the options for me. Another one was New York. So I want to see if I can find New York. There's New York right there. So 1 inch, 2 inch, ½ inch. I'm going to click on the 1 inch. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. That's a good one. That's a fun monogram. I'm going to click outside so I can see what it would look like. So that's a fun idea right there. Now I'm going to click on it again so that I can keep looking through and see which one I decide on. And you can, it doesn't have to be these OMyCS. I'm just using those because a bunch of us just bought that, and I wanted to show you how to bring them into Embrilliance Essentials. But whatever fonts that you have, and like I said, you get some automatically with the purchase of Brilliance Essentials. All right, so another one, Rosetta. Let me see. Rosetta right there. So these are by the name of the design. I love that. That makes it a lot easier to find. That's really pretty too, and that's very simple. I think I like that one. All right, and then I'm going to keep looking. So you're just basically going through what you have and deciding what looks the best with the letters of your name. So that's a nice one, but I would have to move the S over because it's like overlapping. But otherwise, it is a nice one. That looks good. I like that actually a lot. I might like that one best because it's a little bit taller. So it's 1 7/16 by 1 3/8. All right, and then Twilight Moon is one that I wanted to see. Twilight Moon. And like I said, there were a bunch. I went through that that purchase to see. Here's a 1 1/2. Oh, and Twilight Moon doesn't come in a 1 inch, so it's a bigger one. Now that's really pretty. So that is almost 2 inches, 1 15/16 by 2 1/16. So I would have to shrink that one down a little bit to make sure that it fits, because keep in mind, we're not going to have that visual. We're not going to know until it is sewn on here. So you are really going by the measurement of your project and your design to make sure that it's going to fit right. I think I like that one. So if I wanted to go with this one, I would have to, in my opinion, I would want to separate the two a bit. So let's see if I do this space. That's not doing anything. Huh. I thought that might give me a little space in between, but it's not. So I think I would have to do an actual space. Oh, maybe because I haven't hit return. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a huge space. So I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to click on undo, undo. All right, so undo, undo. I'm going to move this to where the slant is and just see what that does. And I'm going to take out that space, click return. All right, so see, they're a little bit too close, I think, a little bit too close. So I would have thought if I highlight this and move it, I wonder why it doesn't, that space doesn't work. Yeah, it's not moving it away from it. So what you could do is you could do the C and then do the S separately so that you've got exactly the right amount of space that you want. I think I will do that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click this undo button. And I'm going to take out the S and say return. And then I'm going to do another one. So if you wanted to do that, I'm going to move this over just a bit. And I'll have to do that align and distribute again, but that's okay. So if I click on this create letters, look at how pretty that is. The B. If you have a B in your name, use Twilight Moon. That is really pretty. All right, and then I'm going to do a capital S and hit return. And then I've got these two letters and I can space them the way that I want and have them lined up just right. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a line just to make sure that they are the same, because we're going to move them anyway, so it's not going to matter. We're going to do that align and distribute, not distribute, just the align part. All right, so get it how you want it though, and keep in mind that we have to look at the size. So I think I'll move this over just a bit. That looks good. All right, so now I'm going to click on both of them. So I'm going to click on Design 4 and Design 5 while I'm holding down the control button so that I have both, so that it will tell me the selected size. And both of them are just a tiny bit over 2. You can see down here at the bottom, it shows you the size. So then I can go ahead and shrink them just a bit. 1 7/8, maybe even just a tiny bit more, just to make sure. You want a little wiggle room because we're not exactly sure of what it's going to end up with this until we're done. So I'm going to make mine, I could make it a tiny bit smaller, so it's 1 3/4. Yeah, now it's 1 3/4 all around. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Now notice it's not centered or anything, so I'm going to redo that just to make sure that it will be centered. So to do that, I'm going to click on 2 and click on both of those letters. So I have to hit the control button so that they're all selected. So I have 2 and then 4 and 5 because I decided to do my letters separately so that I could have a little space between them, because on this on a script font it tends to bring them either too much together or too much apart, and you have to move them around just a little bit. So I like this font though, so I'm going to go with that. All right, so I'm going to go to Utility, Align and Distribute, and I'm going to click Center, Center, and Apply. Oh, don't do that with 2 letters. Look at what that did. That's funny. All right, so I'm going to say Close, and I'm going to just manually move them because now I know where the center mark is, so that's fine. So I'm clicking outside so nothing is selected, and I'm going to click on that S, and I'm just using my arrow key so that it stays on that center mark, and then this one I'm going to move over. All right, and then I can make sure that these are centered in the way that I want them. Just by eyeballing it. That's funny. I didn't think about that. So you should be able to get that space button. I didn't get that space button to work. If that had worked, then you would be able to have them both together. And on yours, depending on the font you choose, you probably won't have to have them be 2 separate items. Okay, so I'm going to click outside so that I can see how that looks. And then that looks really good. I would like to make sure that it is actually centered correctly, but here's that center mark. So probably if I bring this one over just a tiny bit and bring this one over and select outside so that you can see everything, I think that looks really good. So depending on your OCD and how perfectly you want it, you could have it be one design and do that utility align, and that will work fine. So now keep in mind, this is the one that has all of the designs. And so we would be doing the back and forth with cutting each of the batting and all of that. So I want these designs, just this part, so the acorn and the CS. Now that I have those centered in the way that I want them, I'm going to copy all of these by selecting the control button, and I've got the acorn and the CS, and I'm going to say Control C to copy. And I'm going to go to that Untitled 3 tab that has all of our quilting in one part, and I'm going to say Control V like victory. And then you can see it keeps it to the center, which I've already determined the center, but it will run through all of the quilting first, and then it will run through the acorn and then through the monogram so that it keeps everything centered. So that looks really good. So I just realized that this acorn looks a little bit smaller than my CS. So I'm going to click on, first I'm going to click on C and S just to check, make sure. Those are 1 3/4 basically. This acorn, it says it's 1 3/4, and it is. It's 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. It looks smaller to me than the monogram. So I was thinking I might make that a little bit bigger, but it actually is the right size that I would like for my design. So of course you do you and whatever works for you. So I've got my quilting color sorted already, and then it's going to run through the acorn and then through the monogram. So this looks really good to me. I'm ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file, save stitch file as, make sure to do an as. I try to mention this on a lot of videos so that you remember, if you just do a save, it's going to save over the first thing that you brought in, and it will ruin your quilting design. You want to do a save as so that it creates a second file. All right, so save stitch file as, and then I'm going to go to my design. So Falling for Autumn. You can save it wherever you want. You could save it to your desktop. I'm going to save it embroidery files, Pez, quilt, and then I'm going to name it Star Block Quilting. Whatever's going to make you remember. You could say personalized, monogram, whatever you want it to name it, just whatever will help you to know how to find it. I'm going to put in the front of it, I'm clicking in the front, and I'm going to put 9 by 14 so I remember what size hoop to use, and I'm going to say save. All right, and then I have my machine on and ready to play. So I'm going to click Utility, Send to Solaris XP1. If you have a Wi-Fi ready machine, you can send it to your machine. If not, you would transfer it to your USB stick and bring it over to your embroidery machine. And I showed how to do that on the very first video for those that might be new. But so again, adding in this little acorn and a monogram, that's totally optional, not at all necessary, but just something fun to do, a new thing to learn, and how to use your embroidery fonts and how to use your Embrilliance Essentials for those that are joining in. So if, like I said, if you have not purchased Embrilliance Essentials and you're looking at having this investment of something to be able to do personalized things on your computer to bring into your embroidery machine, it's a really great program, and I would appreciate it if you use my link. I will add it up here. It is embrilliance.com/jam-affiliate/Cristin creates, and I will add a direct link. There's also one in the video notes underneath this video that you just click on that and then click on Embrilliance Essentials and add to cart, and it gives me a little kickback and I will show you how to use it. So there's a few things. I've looked ahead through this quilt, and there's a few things that I've been thinking about doing to make it our own quilt, and that's completely optional. So let's go ahead and get started finishing up our star blocks. All right, real quick, I want to point out that you should watch this while it is doing the quilting. These seams are really thick. I ironed mine open, and it creates these thick seams. So just be careful, because your needle could pull the whole project right out of the hoop. Mine did pretty good, very good, but I watched it, and whenever it got near a seam, I hit the stop button on my machine so that it would slow it down, stop for a moment, and then start out slower. And so I would just recommend watching it, because it's all of those pieces, and keep in mind that I also stabilized all mine, so mine are even thicker, but just watch it. Just my suggestion. and my shirt today on this Falling for Autumn quilt. I'm wearing a tank top. It's kind of funny, like I should be wearing nice cozy warm things, but it's 96 degrees, or actually 93 degrees, so I'm wearing a tank top. It's a cancer tank top that I made during my cancer treatments, and it says never give up down the racer back on the back. I will add a photo so that you can see it. I believe I found it on Etsy, I'm pretty sure, and I will add the information as long as I have it underneath this video in the video notes. The tank top I think was from Fred Meyer, and like I said, it's a cute little design on the racer back part of the tank top, so I'll share that information. So how are you doing with your goal? I'm excited to say that several people are joining me on the weight loss journey part of our goal. I think that that's very exciting. It's good to have camaraderie when we're working on something big like that. So on our last video during the sweater block, I believe it was, I gained a half a pound, and it was really discouraging because I didn't even get to enjoy something cool to be able to have that weight gain. So I just stuck with my program and cut off my eating long before 9 p.m. Ate really healthy, getting extra protein, getting lots of workouts. So I just stuck with it, and this morning that weight is gone, so that was good. So I'm back at what I was. I'm at 9.8 pounds lost, and I've gotten down to 10 pounds full weight loss. So I'm still a quarter pound up. So that'll probably be gone tomorrow though. Hopefully that's the plan. So I'm going to share something funny with you. So obviously to have weight loss, we need to eat healthy and drink extra water and try and get extra sleep. That doesn't work for me, but try. And then working out, right? Even if it's just walking, exercise, whatever it is, something to help boost your metabolism and get your body going, oh, we got to be working, right? So yesterday, I had a rough day yesterday. I spent 4.5 hours in the hospital. It was a long day, just with like follow-up cancer treatment type stuff. So nothing too bad, but long day, and I knew it would be a hard day. And so last night I got it in my head, well, I'm going to go on a bike ride with the club. I'm going to do this because my bike club rides a couple of days a week. And so I try and join in once in a while, but I haven't been super focused on cycling this year. I've been working more on running to try and build my bone density. So anyway, I thought, oh, I'm just going to do this ride. It'll be great. And I did the ride, and it's kind of funny. So I didn't know how to get to the ride start. Like I knew where to park, but I didn't know how to get to where the actual ride started. So one of the guys in the club told me how to get there. I wrote it on a little pink note, one of those sticky notes, and I put it on my leg underneath my cycling shorts just a tiny bit. Well, then we're riding through sprinklers, and it got wet, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, so, and I'm sweating, right? So I'm like, no big deal, right? Well, now I have like this pink tattoo on my leg, and I'll share a photo of it because it's really funny. It's literally this bright pink from the sticky note that was on my leg, and it doesn't come off. I've had it for 2 days now, and it's not going away, and I've showered twice, so it's kind of funny. But anyway, the other funny part of this story, in past years, I've been a very strong cyclist, done a lot of big rides, and felt very strong and worked really hard at it. And like I said, this year is not my cycling year, and I'm okay with that. Well, I did all of that stuff at the hospital, got this bone infusion. It was a big deal, and should have just let my body rest. Like, we have to learn to listen to our bodies, right? And to respect our bodies. And I thought, oh, I'm fine. I had a really hard day. I'm going to go for a bike ride. That'll cheer me up and make everything better. So I go for the ride with this club, and did fine for the most part. I stuck right behind the ride leader in the long peloton. I was second in place and did fine for the most part, even though it was hard and it was definitely struggling. And then we get to this little hill that's not even a hill. It's like a bump, but it was long. It was a long bump, and I had nothing left in me. Nothing. I was just literally in everyone's way. It was really interesting. I haven't been in that position. Oops, sorry, I kicked my light. I haven't been in that position in a long time, so it was very humbling for sure. And it just really shows you that we have to listen to our bodies. I mean, that was a lot on my body yesterday. I should have just come home, watched a movie, chilled out, which I never do. I'm just not like that. And so So anyway, I got it in my head that I could go do this right, and it was fine for the most part, but definitely in everyone's way. Everybody's trying to pass me, and I'm trying to get over to the right so that I can get out of everyone's way, and nobody's letting me in, and I'm like, all right, this is how it's gonna be tonight. So anyway, listen to your body. Do better than I did.